again, and welcome to September in A Year Gardening. I've just been and collected some nice beans for our dinner later today, but we've got a lot to get through in today's show, and I've built a little program together today to show you some bits and pieces in the front garden, some pruning because of some damage in the wind, show you the benefits we've had of a little bit of rain, and also I'm going to be taking out some of the leaders on the mini orchard to bring down the height of the trees. Now, you may remember when I bought them, they're on grafted rootstock, and the guide was between 2 and 3 metres. They're well in excess of the 2 metres and probably in excess of 3 metres, and we'll have a look at those later on. So lots of things to go through. We're going to go back into the Polytunnel as well later on, and we're going to be planting for winter. So lots of things to get on with. So without further ado, welcome to September in A Year Gardening. Now would be a really good time to say thank you for the rain. Now, you may remember I joined these two water butts together. Each of these holds 100 litres of water, and this is the overflow tank, and there we are, that's full up. So I've got a couple of 100 litres of water, so even if we don't get much rain for the next few weeks, I've got enough for my plants. And whilst I'm talking about the rain, it does mean the grass has started to come back and give us a nice green colour. And if it stays dry for the next day or two, I might give that a cut and a tidy up. But I'm just leaving it to enjoy the moisture that it's got at the moment and to start rejuvenating itself before I do that. So the next thing I'm going to take you to is I'm going to go down to the mound border where the Alamankia tree has received a little bit of damage, and we'll start tidying that up. Well, here we are at the Alamankia tree, and during the strong winds that came with the thunderstorms the other day, this has received a little bit of damage, and we've got a break here, so we don't want to risk any disease getting into the tree. And I can see that just below where the break is, we have got some fresh growth coming up. So my intention is to actually cut straight through that and remove the damaged section. And so I'm just going to take my loppers inside there, and with one nice clean cut that off. And there we have the damaged section, which is not very pleasant, but that has obviously broken right through there. So we've now taken that out, and that removes the risk of more disease getting into this lovely tree. Well, while I've got my loppers out, we'll go up to the mini orchard and we'll have a look at taking out a section of the leaders so that these trees can grow nicely and the fruit will be harvestable. So if I let them grow too high, I won't be able to reach the fruit next year to collect it. So that's a little job we get on with now. Well, these trees have certainly grown high, and if I take the loppers, well, look at that, they're massive. So what I need to do, this is the leader on this particular tree. Now, I don't want it to be too much shorter than these, otherwise these are going to want to take over as a leader. So I'm looking here, and I'm going to take this one down to around about here. I've got a nice little growth here, I've got another one there, so I'm just going to cut this one just above that growth, and a nice clean cut to bring that one off. And so that's my pear tree leader down. We will take these off and we're going to make that just a manageable height, and we're going to shape that later in the month. I've got a similar situation over on the Braeburn apple, so we'll look at that one now. So this is the Braeburn apple, and again this leader is going very, very high, but we've also got some really nice growth coming out sideways from here, and we'd like to encourage that, so we're going to bring that down. And just to show you, this is the quality of the fruit that I'm getting off of that tree, and this one's a little snack for me in a minute. But what we're going to do now, I'm just going to take this one down again just above that growth there, and that's another little job done on that one. I've got a similar situation over the back here, but not exactly the same, and this is on my plum tree, and so I'm going to take out quite a few of the taller growing branches on the plum. So this here is the Victoria plum, and I'm just going to bring this down to a manageable height, and it's going to bring itself back up again. I'm going to take this down to just above where this joint is, so we're going to take that one out here, and this one just here. Clear that through. And I really want to maintain this at a manageable height. So again, we've got these here are crossing over. So I'm going to actually take this one right out, because I don't want the branches rubbing against each other, because that again can cause damage to the tree. And we'll bring this one down nicely there. All the time checking for over crossing branches, not happening there. So just clear this nicely. Always taking it just above a leaf, and that one there has got a secondary growth growing on that, so we'll take it just above there. Take that up, which leaves me just one tall one here, and again I've got one that looks like it's going to form a branch just there, so we take that out. One tree at a controllable height. Now the taller branches on the apple and the pear I will come back to, and I'll look at those just before we get to winter, so at the end of autumn, so maybe mid-late October time. Otherwise these are sorted for now. Whilst we're talking about autumn and winter, I think it's time I sorted out some colour. I had some lovely colour in this garden last year. Because of the dry weather, we haven't had so much colour this year, but I'd like to have some colour in the garden for winter, and I'm going to use some violas and pansies to plant up on my pots. So let's go and visit that. Well, now it's time to add a little bit of colour to our pots for the winter. Now this is my Virginia creeper, which is growing up over the frame of the summer house pergola that I built earlier this year. But I'd like to put a little bit of colour here so that during those grey months of winter we can have a little bit of enjoyment. And I bought some winter flowering pansies. So I'm just going to prepare this. I've already watered this, and we've got some rather nice moist mixture of compost and soil in here. There's plenty of feed in here, so I can just make a nice little hole over the side, and I'm going to plant these around the edge of the pot. So we'll just lift one of the plugs. They're a good looking plug, reasonable amount of fibrous root on here, and they should grow nicely. So we'll just pop that in here, and then we'll bring some soil in nice and tight around the edge of those. Now I've got to be careful of these wires, because this is that solar light watering can that I showed you earlier in the year, and so I don't want to damage that. but it does look beautiful at night. Might try and take a photograph later on and show you at the end of the show. And we'll keep digging in here. Got to avoid the roots of the Virginia creeper. Leave that, hold that back. And we're bringing in a different coloured flower here. Okay, look at those roots on there. Lovely. Just going to pop that inside. Pull that down. This is going to give us some beautiful colour through the winter months. And they can be quite distressing at times. But let's go for a different colour. Pop that one inside here. Lovely. And I'm going to basically put colour all the way around here, and with a bit of feed on here they're going to grow and they're going to have really nice flowers and growth, the same as the summer plants did. They gave us some beautiful colour during the summer. Now we're going for some winter colour, and I've got some violas which I'm going to put into the pot the other side. Smaller flower, not as dense growing, but they're going to give me an equal amount of colour. I've also done a couple of hanging baskets with these winter flowering pansies as well, so that we're going to have that little bit of brightness during those couple of grey months to come. Well, welcome back to the front garden. Now this delicate, beautiful little rose is a rose I really love, but this year it has been devastated by rust and black spot on the leaves, so I'm cutting it right back, and hopefully that will save the plant for next year and it will come back all the happier. So I'm taking it down a little bit at a time, purely because it's very, very sharp and it has lots of thorns on it. But we'll just remove this section here and I'll show you the black on the leaves here, and that is really not very nice. So I'm taking it all back in order to get a much healthier plant next year. However, whilst I've been cutting this back, I discovered this. And this is a vine that's been growing in the background of here. So I want to show you something special about that vine. Now, I've been back over some old photographs that I took when we first started to tidy this front garden. And this definitely wasn't here. So this is a self-seeded plant. And it's been growing and growing and growing. And it is quite a large vine. As you can see, there's a lot of it, so I'm going to have to look after this, mainly because of what is on it, because it is a grapevine, and you can see hopefully some of the little grapes on here, and they're an edible grape. I've tried them out. There's a couple left on here. These are absolutely beautiful. They're sweet as anything. Absolutely gorgeous. So I've got to look after this. So I'm going to clean out this rose, sort out how I'm going to grow this vine and train it and give it a really nice home. Mind you, whilst I'm out here in the front garden, I will tell you something that's going to be happening in the next show, because I'm going to be lifting the decorative plants that we put in, some of the geraniums and things, and get those ready for overwintering in the greenhouse. And I'm going to be planting a load of spring bulbs, some daffodils and tulips, some narcissi, and we're going to cover that in the next show. But for now, I've got to carry on cutting this down and sorting out how I'm best going to treat this vine. What a lovely surprise that was. Well, hello and welcome back to the working part of the garden, and in particular the polytunnel. Now, I've only got a few plants growing in here at the moment. It's seasonal change over time, and I've been sorting out in here, and I've just moved this old bookshelf down here, which I'm going to use for some pots and bits and pieces, which is better than having a table in here, because that was restricting the area that I could grow, but I can use this for growing on as well. So I'm going to be making a few changes, doing a little bit of tidying up and cleaning up in here. But the first thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be planting some crops for Christmas eating. So I think I'll just show you that now. Well, I really can't tell you how much I just love being in here, and the benefits of having this polytunnel have really come through. I've still got some tomatoes growing in here. I'm going to keep those going and see how long they will last for, and hopefully we'll be getting some more fruit off of those. But other than that, it's clear through time, but also planting time. So I'm going to be actually putting in here some potatoes. I've got 6 potatoes which have started seeding indoors, and I thought, well, if I can get those in the ground, then we will be in a good position for some nice potatoes around about Christmas time now, because we're in the first week of September now, and so I'm going to get these into the ground, and we're going to grow some potatoes. You might remember I tried growing some winter sown or autumn sown potatoes in the past. I was doing that outside, and that really was not a success. So I need to just try it inside the polytunnel now. And I've got some reasonable soil here, so I don't see why it won't work. I'm only going to do 1 trench, and then I'm going to use the soil from this side for earthing up. And I think this is going to be big enough to get 6 plants in there. So we can get that out of there. There's a bit of weed there we can get rid of, but I think that's going to be enough there. So I'll get my potatoes. Well, these have got some decent little shoots on, so I'm going to put them in here. I don't expect to get masses of potatoes off of here, but I hopefully will get some. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 there. And then we just make sure we've got a decent covering of soil on each one. And then I'll go onto my computer and just record what we've planted and where. I like to keep a nice record of what's growing, when I've planted it, and what the results are, because if it's wrong, then we can always change what we've done for next time and see if we can get it right. So they're in the ground there, nicely covered up. The next bed I'm going to prepare, and I'm going to put in some more beetroot. I've got beetroot outside, and then I'm going to be planting some all year round cauliflowers in here as well. So let's hope that this polytunnel is going to bring a lot more joy this winter for me. I think now we'll just pop into the greenhouse while we're down here, and I'll pick some of the last fruits in there, and we'll see how they're looking in there. Must admit I haven't been in there for a couple of days, so it'll be a bit of a joy for me as well. Well, yet again it's season change over time here in the greenhouse, and I notice a oxalis growing through here, so that's come from one of the corms that I've dropped. But I have got some rather nice cucumbers still growing on here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 10 of those. A few green tomatoes still sitting on here. They are not likely to go red now, but we'll leave them and we'll see. But just to get rather nice cucumber, think we're going to have some salad later, so I might as well take this one up. And we've got just a few more growing on here, looking rather splendid. And I'm sure we might pick a couple of those smaller and actually pickle those. Nice bit of pickled cucumber, always lovely. But that's the quality that we're getting out of the greenhouse. And I say it is time now for the changeover. I'll be bringing in the geraniums from the front garden and potting those up for the winter. I've got my geraniums and fuchsias that are hanging on the wall in the summer house, and those pots will come in here. I'll get another table, I think, and I'll make a nice display during the winter months so I can come down here, listen to a bit of classic FM, talk to my plants, and just be in a little bit of that perfect place. And sometimes you need a little place where you can escape to, and this greenhouse is my escape. Well, to quote Charles Dickens, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. And the garden really sums that up for me. But we've had a bit of a mixed month this last month, but I'll explain that to you in a moment. We've had a pretty good show today, I think you'll agree with me, and finding that grapevine in the garden was, well, quite amazing, lovely. And looking around me now, the Rebecca is coming towards an end, and the roses I've been cutting back, and I'm sure they're going to really give me a beautiful, beautiful display next year. I'm so glad that I've been able to control the fruit trees in the mini orchard. The mound is looking a little bit sad now. The perennials are dying back, and we've got to do a little bit of tidying and cleaning there. But generally, the garden is a comfortable place to be. I'm really enjoying being able to sit outside for a few hours and enjoy myself. And having the greenhouse now decluttered from plants, I can put my chair back in there and sit and listen to my radio and enjoy the time that I've got to just chill. It's so lovely to be able to chill. Now, those of you who have been watching for the last few years, you may remember the little Italian cypress trees that I bought. Well, they're sitting in front of me now, and they're nearly 2 meters tall. They are growing immensely quickly, and I'll be taking out the top of those next time round just to control the height. I don't want them to really be more than about a couple of meters. So take out that leader on there and just keep them growing nicely. They're the entranceway to the area where I'm sitting talking to you now. Raspberries are just about finished now, so we've had a lovely crop of those. We've had a great crop of strawberries. The apples, we've still got some, and I'm so looking forward to having a little bit of a munch on a couple of those as well. This area I've tidied right back. The green is coming back, hence the rain has really made a difference, and the grass is getting more lush, but I'm not going to cut it for a while. Leave that for another 2 or 3 weeks just to get the strength back into the grass. But it is greener than it has been for months, and thank God for the rain that we've had, because it's really, really helped. Had a look at my moisture meter, and it's actually coming through at around about 50% moisture now, so it's showing moist rather than dry, which is really, really fantastic, and the plants are appreciating it. We're going to have to clear off all of the dead leaves from the crocosmia. That's not going to come back this year, that'll be for next year. So all of the dead, that's got to be cleared, it's got to go. In next month's show, I'm going to share with you the planting of the new bulbs in the front garden finishing the harvest, tidying the greenhouse. We've got some more planting to go on in the polytunnel, and it's going to be so exciting. However, it will be in next month's show, because it's now our time that we take our annual holiday. We will not be bringing you a mid-September show, and I apologise, but not in a bad way. We have to have a little break. And while I'm talking about having a little break, we've decided that next year we're going to have our September break in Dorset. So this is specifically aimed at my friends in Wyke Regis. We're thinking of coming to the Weymouth area next year for our holiday. Can you recommend somewhere great for us to stay with a sea view and not too expensive? So I'll leave that one to you guys, and you can feedback to us, and maybe we can run into one or two of you whilst we're down there, which would be fantastic. Now, as I said at the start of this little monologue, the best of times and the worst of times. And one of the reasons why this show is a little bit late coming out, sadly, a great friend of ours passed away on the 1st of September. Now, Dot was one of the very first people to come and visit our garden before we started all the work, when we just moved in here, and a great friend of ours for many years. We used to spend some lovely times together, and those memories will live with us forever, and it's a sad loss. And so today's show I dedicate to her. I'm going to miss her immensely. We went to visit her in the local hospital. She then moved hospitals and then moved back. Unfortunately, because Julie wasn't that well at the time, we couldn't visit her more. But Dot, we miss you. It's hard when you lose a friend. But now with God, in peace. That's all I can say. So, well, that's the end of today's show. I just leave you with the words I can. Stay safe, be kind to each other. Happy gardening. And I have a small glass sitting here to Dot. Cheers.